Well, here was a pretty fun game I had. Sliver Queen facing down Galisa the Traitor with a not too fast hand, but one I thought was adequate to keep. So he's going first, and he leads off with Colony Garden. And I get down with Swords mana up. Thought about plowing the Druid right away, just because I love to play artifacts, but then I realized that all the Druid is going to do is damage. And a creature that just does damage isn't enough to matter. I probably should have stripped Colony on the turn 1, but I wanted to have Swords mana up in case he had just something funky like Rancor or something like that. So these next few turns are somewhat uneventful. It's down with the Coffin Queen that's not really going to do much against me, since I don't generally kill creatures. I exile them or banish them to the bottom of the library, in general. So the sword is obviously like somewhat annoying here, because the plan of course was to play Jace and then put Terminus back on top. But because of his sword I kind of have to change my plan. The thing is, the ideal play would be to plow whatever creature he equips, you know, to have drawn 3 cards and then plowed whatever creature he equipped. But if he were clever and equipped the plant, then I would have been stuck. Facing down 1, 2, 3 things and attacking Jace, and I could only plow one of them, so that wouldn't have worked out well for me. So he is clever. He does equip the plant. And he gets down with Oracle. It's such a random and somewhat unfair card in a way, having Future Sight attached to Exploration, but what can you do? And sadly, there's the Putrefy. So if I hadn't a +2 Jace, Jace would be dead this turn. I use the opportunity to plow his sorted creature. Sorted as in sword equipped, not sorted as in SORDID. So this worked out nicely. Picking up the Mox Diamond here, the play is to obviously I can draw with Jace, and then I ship away a Ray and Power Stone that's going to be too slow. And I meant to play the Misty Rainforest and pitch the forest to Mox Diamond. There were some distractions going on, and so I end up pitching the wrong card, meaning I'm going to not be able to shuffle away the Worn Power Stone like I wanted. I'm also down a island that I would have wanted in play for Shackles, but nothing for it but to continue on. There's the edge that he was displaying on the top of his deck. And interestingly, most people kill the tower. He killed the island. It was actually definitely the right play. But I wonder how he knew. I don't know. I have to say it's pretty cool. So he plays Worm Calling with buyback. It's green 2 if you're going to buy it back. So it's 4 mana, and then you get an X creature where X is the remainder. So 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So the biggest creature it can make is a 5/5. But of course if he did that, I could just bounce it with Jace. So he's smart to have made a weaker creature so that he can give it pro blue there. And there's nothing I can do at this moment to protect Jace. So I draw looking for an answer, and Ancient Tomb shows up as a way to keep Jace alive, which hopefully you see it. Yes, one of the other reasons why Sliver Queen just beats all other possible commanders for this deck. Colorless creatures against Sword of X and Y. It's just so critical to be able to block things that have protection from color X with your 5-color commander. So he goes for a giant Worm Calling here, which I actually don't agree with. It's pretty bad. I mean, with Queen, I can just make guy after guy after guy to block it. And because of that, I see no need to bounce it with Jace, so I draw 3 and Get rid of the ray again. Go back steam vents. Twist away the worm calling and the consume the meek that I knew he had because I put it back with Jace earlier. Get down with tax so we can start the mighty engine, and again, barring a top deck, Jace is safe here. Foolishly, he just throws away his 6/6. I'm not sure what he was thinking here. Trading a 6/6 for a 1/1 is a deal I'll take every time, especially when he could have just kept the 6/6 and the 1/1 still dies. I may have considered not twisting if I didn't know that both of his cards were non-artifacts, simply because he would have played his Galisa and then just picked up whatever I twisted away. But fortunately I knew that they weren't, since he had a buyback spell in the card that I had put on top of his library. So, alright, and now the goal of course is to load up on islands, dropping back a swamp and another basic. We want to load up on islands and bring Shackles on board as soon as possible. Because of his 2 threats and the inability to bounce here, I could have gotten artifact removal and maybe killed these off, but again, without dealing with Galisa first, getting artifact removal is sort of a exercise in futility, so instead I go for a consistent creature kill. Throwing down the Abyss, and down goes 1. Now, of course, I was hoping he would just swing with Lord of Extinction, which would be a terrible play, but it would have been nice of him to make. It would have been nice of him to make a bad play for me. He doesn't. I would have happily traded Sliver Queen with his Lord, but instead I'm going to trade Sliver Queen anyway because I make my blocker to protect Jace. And then the Abyss is going to have to target the Queen. I can make a creature in response to the Abyss, but not in response to the targeting. There's no time prior to the beginning of my turn when I can produce a creature. So first I tax, leaving a mountain in the deck. And then with the Abyss on the stack, I start producing the blockers that I'm going to want to maximize Jace's effectiveness, and then I let it die. And here we have a ET. Alright, so that's 2 islands down. We're almost at 3. And I'm still kind of hurting for mana in a way, just because what I really want to do is come back down with the Queen and then spit out a bunch of guys everywhere. Or Mystical Teachings Forest Stroke. Dropping back 2 basic lands for tax purposes. And I almost hit the Orb down, but I mean, if you look at the board, Orb is going to have minimal impact on him with his Dynamo and his Temple. I mean, eventually it'll slow him down. More importantly, Orb would suck for me. I could easily play around it, but there's no need to slow myself down when I've got 7 cards in hand and an active Jace against an empty board. So Orb just wasn't the play here, and I let it go. And he has, like, what an awesome top deck. It's perfect. I mean, exiles the card and everything. So there goes Mystical Teachings plans. But with Jace on board, that's not a problem. So the Abyss eats the other sliver, of course. But it doesn't matter because now we're about to hit 3 islands. First we Jace. Oh, that's happy. Perfect timing on the artifact removal here. Down comes Shackles. Give me Galisa. Let's clean up some of that board over there. Definitely thought about Orb here. It's certainly a lot stronger, but still feeling really confident in my board position, so I just let it go. And there's the Abyss for Lord, which will then trigger Galisa. Thank you very much. That Lantern was the only target. And that's it. He's had enough. Hope you enjoyed the game.